Early life and background. Duncan Edwards was born on October 1, 1936, in Ashington, a mining town in Northumberland, England. He was one of three children in the Edwards family, with his father, Charles Edwards, working as a miner. Duncan's early life, much like that of many in his town, was shaped by the hardships of post-World War II Britain, but it was also a time when football began to grow in stature across the country. From a very young age, Edwards exhibited a passion for football, a love that would later define his life. His early days in the sport were spent playing in the streets of Ashington, where he honed his skills in informal games with other local children. As a teenager, Edwards joined a youth team called Ashington Boys, where his talent quickly became evident. His combination of technical skill, physical strength, and vision on the pitch earned him a reputation as one of the brightest young talents in the area. At just 14 years old, Edwards was spotted by scouts from Manchester United, a club that was known for nurturing young talent and had already begun assembling one of the most famous youth teams in the country. In 1952, at the age of 14, Edwards moved from Ashington to Manchester to join the Manchester United youth system, marking the beginning of a career that would change the course of football history. Rise to prominence at Manchester United. Edwards quickly adapted to life in Manchester, impressing with his maturity and composure on the pitch. His talent was so evident that he was promoted to Manchester United's first team when he was just 16 years old. His debut came on April 4, 1953, in a First Division match against Cardiff City, and he made an immediate impact. Edwards became known for his incredible balance, vision, and ability to read the game, and he was often described as a player far beyond his years. Under the guidance of Matt Busby, the legendary Manchester United manager, Edwards developed into a key figure in a team that was beginning to make its mark on English football. Busby, who had already seen the potential in Edwards, made the teenager a central part of his plans for the future. By 1955, at the age of 18, Edwards was already an established first-team player, having made over 100 appearances for the club. Edwards was a player with an exceptional range of skills. He was a box-to-box midfielder, capable of defending as well as attacking. His ability to control the tempo of the game, break up opposition attacks, and provide decisive passes was matched by his physicality and stamina. Edwards had an uncanny ability to dominate the midfield, dictate play, and be a constant threat going forward. He was in many ways ahead of his time. A complete midfielder who could do everything with the ball at his feet. The Busby Babes and the Munich Air disaster. By the mid-1950s, Manchester United, under Matt Busby's management, had assembled a team of talented young players, many of whom became known as the Busby Babes. These players, including Bobby Charlton, Roger Byrne, Bill Foulkes, and Mark Jones, were among the most exciting young talents in English football. Edwards, with his leadership and exceptional ability, was the cornerstone of the team. The Busby Babes were poised to take English football by storm, and the 1957-1958 season seemed like the perfect opportunity for them to challenge for major honors. Manchester United finished second in the First Division in 1957, and Edwards' performances were a key part of that success. He had become not just a player, but a leader. A player who could inspire and drive his teammates forward. However, it was during the 1957-1958 European Cup campaign that the Busby Babes truly caught the attention of Europe. United reached the semi-finals of the prestigious tournament and were tipped to become European champions. Tragically, their dreams would be shattered on February 6, 1958, when the team's plane crashed while attempting to take off from Munich airport following a European Cup match against Red Star Belgrade. The disaster, known as the Munich Air disaster, resulted in the deaths of 23 people, including 8 Manchester United players: Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, Liam Whelan, Jeff Bent, and Dennis Viollet. Edwards, who had been one of the survivors of the crash, was badly injured in the tragedy. He sustained serious internal injuries and had to undergo multiple surgeries. Despite his injuries, Edwards' will to recover and his determination to return to the pitch was as strong as ever. His recovery would take several months, and it was unclear whether he would ever be able to play football at the highest level again. The comeback and the end of a brilliant career. In the aftermath of the Munich disaster, Matt Busby was faced with the monumental task of rebuilding Manchester United. Despite the tragic loss of so many talented players, Busby managed to rebuild his team, and in 1958, United made a remarkable comeback in English football. The club finished second in the league that year, and they were bolstered by the return of Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law. Edwards, however, was not yet ready to return to the pitch. Over the following months, Edwards made a remarkable recovery. Despite doctors advising him that it would be impossible to return to top-level football, he was determined to play again. In 1959, he made his long-awaited return to the Manchester United first team. His comeback was met with joy and relief from fans and players alike, as they recognized the importance of Edwards not just as a player but as a symbol of resilience and strength. However, Edwards' return was short-lived. While he was still in his prime at just 21 years old, the toll that the Munich disaster had taken on him was evident. He had not fully recovered from his injuries, and although he continued to play for Manchester United, it was clear that his body was no longer able to withstand the demands of top-flight football. His performances, while still impressive, were affected by the long-term effects of the crash. In 1961, Edwards played his final competitive match for Manchester United. At the age of 24, his career was tragically cut short, and he was forced to retire from professional football. The loss of such a talent at such a young age sent shockwaves through the football world. Edwards had been on the verge of becoming one of the greatest players in history, but his career was cruelly interrupted by the Munich air disaster.